What's up guys, Metal Thrashing Buddy here, and today I'm going to break down why I switched from a large tube amp rig to a tiny modeler rig. So if you followed my channel for the past 2 years since I really started making content, you'll have noticed that I used to make a bunch of content with my tube amp rig. It was a big orange 2x12 cab, an Engel Fireball 25 little lunchbox amp, and a bunch of pedals. For the past year or so, since I joined my band Dark Harbor and started performing again and playing live shows again, like very seriously and all the time, you'll notice that I've made content about my Line 6 power cab, my Line 6 Helix, and that's pretty much it. That's my only rig now. While I do still have the orange cab because I absolutely love and adore that, and I don't want to have to get another fantastic big cab in case I throw some more tube amps in my home for fun. And I do still have the Black Star HT Club, which is freaking awesome and a cool just little combo amp to have. My power cab and my Line 6 Helix are my exclusive gigging for shows and even recording almost everything I do on this channel, with the exception of sometimes I'm using the plugins every once in a while because I'm lazy. But yeah, that's my rig and that's it. So what made me switch to the Line 6 Helix in the power cab is literally because that's just it. It's the Helix, the power cab, and a guitar, and that's what I'm taking to shows at all times. In my opinion, you're getting fantastic tone and versatility with the amps and pedals and all the options in this little package, and you're carrying a little FRFR speaker with it that is easily, to my ears, just as awesome to listen to in a room as my big orange cab, but you're probably hauling in absolutely less than 100 pounds of gear, and before I was hauling around this massive multi-piece juggernaut of stuff every time I played a show. So now that I'm knocked out essentially the reason why, I'll go into more detail. So I played bass in a band called Dismembering Mary from roughly 2017 to 2019. I had a very small rig doing that. It was just a bass PV combo amp and my bass, and that was it. And I really liked that because I'm a more efficiency over extravagance kind of guitar player and musician. But I took that very, very seriously. I was blessed to play with a lot of cool bands like Thy Art Is Murder, Winds of Plague, Carnifex, Cattle Decapitation, Signs of the Swarm. I got to open for a lot of cool bands, and I took playing shows regularly up here in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle super seriously, and we were playing all the time and really doing the damn thing. As some local bands do, we kind of just hit a big plateau and we decided to just go our separate ways as musicians. And after that point, in around 2019, closer to 2020, I really wanted nothing to do with playing live. So I didn't play a live show again until, I think, January of 2023. Which is crazy to think. It was a very long time. It was about 3 years since I got on a stage again after doing it so seriously for so long. During that time that I wasn't playing live shows and I wasn't in a band, I decided to take YouTube really seriously and started doing gear reviews and started just posting content across YouTube any way possible. And that was a great experience, still is a great experience. And thank you guys for with your reception and making it so fun to do. And while I was doing that, I got the Engel Fireball 25 that I did a review on, and I got the orange cab, and I got a bunch of pedals, a couple different tube screamers, some reverb and delay things, some chorus things. I've done reviews on all of them. If you haven't checked them out yet, they're old and awkward kind of, but they're on the channel. Essentially, I had assembled my dream rig, and there it was, and it was always at home because I wasn't in a band and I wasn't playing shows. And it sounded just the way I wanted it to. It sounded perfect. I had everything dialed in. I recorded a ton with it. I made a ton of content with it. And then over that span of time from roughly 2020 to 2023, when I joined Dark Harbor and started practicing with them and playing shows, I was just like, man, this rig is absolutely too much. And I know that's crazy to say because everyone wants the giant cab and the cool lit up, tube amp. I sure did, but it was something I didn't realize I didn't want once I was gigging and playing shows and moving around all the time and hauling things around, because I had just had that enormous setup just sitting against a wall to make YouTube content with. So I'd started doing my research. My senior Nick Burgess showed me about his HX Stomp and ran me through how to use that really. And it basically came down to the fact that I'd already had a general idea of how the Helix was going to work. And that's what made me go with line 6, is not only the fantastic tones that I get out of it and all of the options, but just the simplicity of also already having someone that had messed with them and knew a lot about them and could kind of get me from point A to point B in this transition really, really quick to make playing shows effortless and easy. And I'm going to talk a lot about how much I like my line 6 Helix and power cab setup, and I'm not affiliated with them by any means. This was all on my own dime. This was all my personal choice, and this is just all my personal opinion. Ultimately, with the tube amp versus modeler argument for me, it came down to what I was doing, where I was going to do it, and kind of what sounds I was looking for. The Helix happens to have every sound that I really want to work with for what I'm doing. Tons of great versatility in that. I realized with my old rig, I'm not that big of a pedal guy, and while I think they're cool, I'm really only ever using delay, chorus, reverb sometimes, and an overdrive. It's a very simple setup, and I'm not this huge pedal collector by any means. I'm very much so a, like I said, efficiency and using what I need guitar player. So what I wanted was to make everything as simple as I could while I'm traveling and I'm performing, and I'm not stomping on a bunch of different pedals. I'm not bringing in a bunch of different pedals. I'm literally making a preset for parts of songs and songs themselves. And when I need to switch for a section, I'm literally just doing one click with my foot. And I can almost say that 90% of it is just the pure efficiency and just ease. Because you're on stage as a guitar player, you're worrying about tons of stuff as a local musician and someone who's, getting out of that local musician arena and working really hard towards something bigger. The last thing you want to worry about is crazy complex issues with your gear. And that's just my opinion. Hey, I love looking at people's giant tube amp rigs with tons of pedals. I have a lot of friends like that, but this is just for me and my preferences as someone who travels to places and plays a lot. Now, where I'm pro tube amp in this conversation of tube amp versus modeler is the fact that it was so simple to dial in an awesome tone immediately with the tube amp. And I was just talking about this with my vocalist the other day, that it's not hard for me to do it on the Helix anymore. You kind of get used to how to adjust that in either the HX edit or in the Helix itself. You kind of find a way to streamline you setting up an amp really quick, just like you would a real amp. But something that you can't replace is turning on a tube amp, seeing, the lights glow, feeling it get warm, and physically turning knobs, real amp knobs, is just really special. Feeling a big, giant, full cab push a ton of air is just a really awesome thing, and I will never, ever say that my smaller setup is as special to me as that is. It's very true old school rock and roll, and as an old school rock and roll fan, I love that about tube amps. Another pro to tube amps, in my opinion, was that it was very easy to dial in tone. And where it kind of contradicts itself is the fact that I can dial in tone so quick on my Helix now. And that was a little learning curve, but that's the same thing with real tube amps, is that you got to figure out the way that you typically like things to sound and to streamline how you get things to sound the way you want them kind of very quickly so that you can get going and creating. In the case of the modeler and the power cab, The power cab, the 2x12 power cab is so loud and so incredible sounding with an IR setup in your Helix, or even the IRs that are in the power cab itself, which is a cool feature. And don't worry, I'll do reviews more specifically on the power cab and maybe the Helix. There's a lot of those out there, but yeah, everything sounds fantastic. And to me, in my little studio room here, the big orange cab and the power cab are really, really, really close. And that's to my ears. It's the same feeling. It might be different with a 1x12 power cab, but I got the bigger one specifically for that because I was playing a bigger, like, real rig. And all the tones I get out of the Helix I think are fantastic, especially since I just learned the quick ways to do it. And dialing in the tone on my tube amp, I really wasn't crazy about the tone unless I had an overdrive pedal at least anyway, which I thought was kind of funny because I was like, oh, you don't have to carry all these pedals around with the Helix. And I was like, yeah, but the tone is so great with just an amp, but that was still with a pedal anyway. So I was going to at least always need like one pedal just for my taste. So eliminating pedals for me was huge. I want to focus on more performing and running around and kind of being fun on stage and being less worried about clicking certain things when I've eliminated those clicks like 10 times over from switching to a modeler. And in a room, in a larger venue, I love the way my rig sounds every single time I turn it on and I sound check. Every single time I perform, I love it. And I mean, that's the be all end all really, like I've talked about before, is what the most important thing when you buy a piece of gear or you make a decision like this is that it makes you happy. And this rig makes me really happy. And that's really, you know, the basis of just why I did the switch overall in its entirety. So there you have it. That is ultimately a big ramble about why I switched from a big tube rig to a modeler rig. And if you've stuck with me this long and listened to me ramble, thank you. Subscribe to the channel. I have new videos every week, new shorts every week, and I absolutely love creating gear and music and metal related content for you. Also, a huge thank you for letting me just give you a bit more of a background on me as a musician and what I'm doing with my band Dark Harbor. Check us out if you haven't yet on all streaming platforms and YouTube. And it's always really exciting for me to sit down and just kind of talk to you guys about the gear that I'm using, the decisions I'm making based on what I'm doing as a musician. And hopefully it might give you some insight as to why musicians use what they use or why I did what I did, and really dumbing it down. Like I said, kind of a dumb dude. I'm a simple man. Let's not say dumb, a simple dude. So I like things to be easy and accessible and efficient so that I don't let complexity be the enemy of execution. Thanks so much for checking out the channel. Subscribe for more metal, music, guitar, and gear talk.